Well, hello everyone. Thank you so much for joining our workshop today. So this is a program all about making the arts affordable and accessible for everyone, regardless of age, regardless of disability, or available resources that they may have to experience arts accessibility. I am Kaylee Antayak. I'm the director of the School of Arts and Health for Central Florida Community Arts. And then my partner who cannot be here today is Rebecca Lugo-Melise, and she's a senior manager of Arts Equity and Access. So she does a lot of work in regards to diversity, training out for different programs in the community, and together we write a majority of the curriculum that we use at CFC Arts. I oversee, I'll get to that in a second. So what is Central Florida Community Arts? We have 5 main divisions. The first one is our community choir, which has about 300 voices. Anyone is welcome. It's all adults, 300 voices, and they put on big spectaculars every year. So when I say spectaculars, like really big shows, 3,000 seat stadium. We have aerialists, a dance team, an orchestra. It's a big presentation we do out in Longwood. And then we have an orchestra, and that's again an adult-based program with 180 members strong. They perform all over Central Florida, different venues, at least 3 shows a year. Then we have a children and youth arts program for students ages 3 through 18. If there is a student that has varying abilities who is still in high school, we extend that to 21. So we do have students like Sean, who's in our audience today, who has been a part of the children and youth arts program for a long time. We have a black box theater program, which is currently in a different phase of life right now, post-pandemic, as a tiny black box with only 100 seats is not great for post-pandemic life. But we will be bringing that back online this next year and doing about 6 shows in a small, intimate theater space. And then what I oversee is the School of Arts and Health. Now, CFC Arts exists to build and serve the community through the arts. We've existed for about 11 years, and this is like the bedrock of what we do. Our goal is to make the arts affordable and accessible to all, which is why we are presenting here today. The School of Arts and Health has 5 main facets. So this is the department that I oversee in its entirety. We have an academy, which is private lessons and group classes. We have Arts Access, which is any type of programming we take out into the community, whether that would be at a community center, a specialty school, a charter school, any one of the public school systems. It's anything that we do to bring the arts to a population that may not be able to experience it due to either funding or maybe available resources like transportation. Then we have Arts and Wellness, which is any type of cognitive and or physical disability or disease married with an arts experience. Then we have Arts in Action, which is all of our programming for healthy aging seniors 55 and over, which is a pretty robust program in 4 counties right now. And then we have a whole department devoted specifically to music therapy. So for students that need a little bit more intervention, we have a specialty team of 6 music therapists who do that work out in school systems and on our main campuses. So an example of what we do today I wanted to share is Upbeat. So this is a performance opportunity for teens and young adults with exceptional abilities. And it's open to any type of actor, but we do make it so that it is specifically for autism, Down syndrome, and ADHD. We do multiple performances every year, but during the pandemic, we had to switch from in-person musical theater to a virtual film-based program. So everything is done individually in students' houses where we zoom in to their workspace and we act together as a class, then film the production individually. This program actually just won a international award through the Arts and Innovation with NOAA, the National Organization for Arts and Health, last October. So to kind of show you what that's about, I have a tiny little clip about Upbeat.
One of the key missions of Central Florida Community Arts has been to make high-quality arts programming accessible to everyone in Central Florida, regardless of age, ability, or available resources. Through our partnership with the Down Syndrome Association of Central Florida, we recognized a critical need in our community. While performing arts programs for individuals with physical and cognitive disabilities existed, nearly all offerings concluded once the participant reached the age of 21. Recognizing the importance of providing these programs, CFC Arts education team founded the Upbeat musical theater program. Our goal was to provide a high-quality, customized performance experience for youth and adult performers of all abilities. Originally an in-person experience for those living in Central Florida, Upbeat has become a virtual program due to COVID-19, with participants joining from across the United States. Each production focuses on creative group goals and goals for the individual performers. Instead of an audition, we hold interviews with each new participant and gauge their interest and communication style. Our education team then creates a customized script with roles that allow all participants to shine. Performers are given the option of rehearsing scenes in groups or in one-on-one sessions through a virtual platform. The final rehearsal is filmed and edited into a complete production. We utilize many of the functions of Zoom, including virtual backgrounds. We created how-to guides to help performers and their care partners set up their technical elements at home and provide one-on-one tech support meetings to help those with challenges. Multiple research sources identify the importance of the arts in providing an outlet for participants with varying abilities. There are a wide range of notable benefits, everything from creative expression to increased communication skills. After each performance, we survey families and evaluate the results. We are proud of our Upbeat program. Through our use of creative programming and technology, we know we are enriching the lives of an under-resourced population and moving closer to arts accessibility for all.
Yes, awesome. So that was Upbeat. This is a program that has been going on and will continue to do so both virtually and in person, even as we're coming back from pandemic times, as we like to call them. We found that when we moved virtual, we ended up seeing students all over the nation. So we have students from Massachusetts, Georgia, South Florida, a couple students from Ohio. We haven't gotten too far out west, but just having it be virtual meant that we could, see anybody who wanted to come in on a Thursday night at 6:30. So that's been awesome. And so we're going to continue to find ways to stay virtual even in this new climate that we're in now. So what is interesting about Upbeat, and as I know a lot of you here today are interested about how can you design programs like this or do this with your population. And when we're creating anything, we kind of get started by figuring out what our goals are and how can we overcome any barriers that might be in our place to achieve those goals. So for Upbeat, we have kind of two groups of goals, the creative goals and the individual goals. So for creative goals, that's about an opportunity to be creative. We want to teach acting. We want to teach group cohesion. We want to teach dance. We want to teach how can we now act for the camera. So how can we use what is available in someone's house to do these things? We also have individual goals, and all this stuff gets surveyed at the end of every session. So those are things like self-expression, auditory processing, verbal, nonverbal communication skills, confidence, independence, creativity, and imagination. Now, how do we do this? Logistics is a big piece of the puzzle. So when we went from an in-person to virtual, we knew that we had everything that was in our current model was no longer going to work because I can't gather students in a room and teach. So we had to move to something that would work. So we moved to Zoom. Zoom is our simple and free technology, and if you don't want to use the free version, it's pretty affordable. Zoom has awesome functions that are free. The first one is the Zoom backgrounds. If you guys have been on Zoom, which I'm sure you have in pandemic times, then you'll know that you can put virtual backgrounds on. You can use a record feature, and what's neat about it is that there's all different types of pinning and spotlighting techniques you can use very simply by just a click of a button in Zoom. So we were able to use Zoom to really do the filming portion of what we do with specifically Upbeat. Now, what makes Upbeat different than other musical theater programs that do exist is that we do write a lot of the stuff in-house. We like to write scripts based off the students versus just choosing like Aladdin Jr. and trying to produce a production. So what we do is we interview all of our students individually in lieu of an audition, kind of get an idea of what their communication style is, what their care partner might think is important for them. So sometimes students don't say what's important, or maybe they're shy, especially in a one-on-one interview. So we talk to the parents, we talk to care partners, sometimes it's grandma and grandpa, and we talk to the student and we get a general feel for where they are, what type of role would they shine with, how many words in a sentence would be good, are big words, are small words going to be important for them, are they someone who wants to build their vocabulary, or will they sound best and shine most by using maybe more simple language in what they say. So we choose a theme for our shows, or a notable story like Cinderella or The Grinch, and then we write in-house with myself and another team member based on the interviews that we had with the individual students. When it comes to rehearsals, we do our best to make them as accessible as possible. If anyone's worked with students with varying abilities, you know that Zoom is kind of a challenge to get started with, because everyone, you're not feeling the socialization vibe that you would normally get in a regular classroom space. So we've had to kind of go through some real life learnings as we've adjusted to Zoom, giving every student a chance to speak if they wish to. If students are capable or wish to use the comments, we have kind of rules and processes for following those two different forms of communication. And then we've learned to separate students into small subgroups, which is also a free function of Zoom. I'm a big fan of it. And we've also taught students in one-on-one or in duet style rehearsal. So how will students best function? How will they be able to build their social skills? You don't just want them one-on-one with a teacher all the time, because that's not how theater works. That's not how drama works. So how can we make our rehearsal process the best for the individual student? I have a whole thing about scaffolding for my teachers in this room. You will know scaffolding is so very important when we're talking about students with varying ability. So things like our rehearsal structure. Is it most important to practice the script? Is it most important to do communication exercises? Is it most important to have theater games? Because that's the vibe of my classroom. We can do all of this still in Zoom. It just takes a little bit more effort on the teacher and a little bit more, I would say, proper classroom management to kind of guide conversation and keep the group excited and engaged in that virtual platform. And we do this through Tech Help, and I'm happy to share the stuff that we have made to help both our parents, our care partners, and our students be successful in using Zoom. So we have how-to docs, we've done one-on-one meetings with students and care partners, and we have a pretty easy flow for how the process of working virtual has been working for us for the last really year and a half. So if you're interested in that, feel free to contact me. I will happily send it to you in a PDF. So at CFC Arts, we use all 5 disciplines of the arts. So that's music, drama, dance, creative writing, and art. One of the things that we like to do is cross-disciplinary education. So that means doing one or more of these things together. When we work in the public school system, we tend to do these things in tandem with the core curriculum as well. After meeting a teacher, they say, my students are really struggling with maybe creative expression or interpreting maybe language physically, or understanding something like adjectives. How can we do a lesson where they have to use describing words, right? So we find different ways to kind of infuse drama out in any type of educational sector in our community. We are a community of ability. If you live in Central Florida or beyond, you know that we have so many people that are capable of doing the arts and really want to. The things that we do the most are working with folks with Alzheimer's disease, autism, ADHD, dementia, Down syndrome, and Parkinson's disease. Those are really the breadth of the work that we do in arts and wellness. But when it comes to more specific medical concerns, our music therapists go farther. So that's our cerebral palsy, PTSD, traumatic brain injury. They work with any type of more severe cognitive disability, or students that are more nonverbal than verbal. That'll be our music therapist team doing a specific type of interventions versus the arts accessibility model that I'll be talking a lot about today. So our arts access, we have 3 main models that we use and we replicate out in the community, and that we are willing to share with whoever needs the resources to be able to do this work. We are a team of just 2 people, and there's a lot of need in our community, so we are not competitive in nature at all. Please go forth and replicate. I have a slide on that at the end. So I'll get started with how we kind of got funding and do a majority of the work with the different divisions in our community. So that begins with partnership. Partnerships, woohoo! We have 4 main branches of partners. Those are our educational facilities. So those are our public schools, our charter schools. We work with all the major universities in this area. We have service agencies. So that's like the Down Syndrome Association of Central Florida or the Brain Fitness Academy. And then we work with all of our neighboring arts organizations like Chance to Dance, who I know is here today, and the Orlando Fringe. Yes, I know Sean's like, Chance to Dance, yes. And then we work with healthcare, so we work with Advent Health, Orlando Health, and then also foundations like the Winter Park Health Foundation in town. Whenever we create a partner-based program, so this would be if we're working out in a community and a partner comes to us and they say, we have a group with dementia and we want to develop a program for them. We know that they'd really like a vocal arts experience. It begins with finding a great partner to help facilitate meeting those people. So once we figured out what the unmet need is, we do a lot of research on the population. Before we start anything, it's highly important to know who you're working with and why what you're doing might be important, and also what activators or triggers might be possible within that population, so you don't accidentally do things that might be inappropriate. Then what we generally do is meet a sample of that population or the partner themselves, and I'm a big component of building genuine trust. You can't just jump into a group and be like, I'm gonna bring something awesome, because they might not want you. And no one needs you. That's the biggest thing I've learned over my 10 years in this field, is that no one needs you, but they might benefit from an arts experience. So just open up the door and see what happens. After we've met people, we generally then choose our discipline or topic. So maybe we came into a meeting saying, we're gonna bring a vocal arts program, but after talking to people, what we really realize is that they wanna do creative writing, or they wanna do a painting workshop, or maybe they wanna put on musical theater. And from there, after we've chosen our topic, we develop a program. And developing a program can take anywhere from a few days to like an entire year, depending on how in-depth you wanna go. What are those group goals? What are the individual goals? And how much do you or your partner know about your population? For the most part, I'm talking to a lot of teachers today, you know your population very well, so I'm sure you'll knock it out in a weekend and be ready to go. From there, we assign, hire, and training a teaching artist, and I'll talk about that a little bit later, but finding just the right person is always number one, and then building on their skills and their knowledge about the population is always secondary to finding just the right person to do the work. And then registering and launching the program, and then moving it out, figuring out how effective it is. A lot of the work that we do, the end of it is just as important as the launch and the process of it. So that means the evaluation. Is there research about the population that you can feed your findings into? Are there grants now that you've launched and done a program that you can now apply for, or people who would be interested in what you're doing? We have found that just the open doors of communication, just being honest and really just open with other people that are doing similar work, we have found a ton of grants and research proposals that we have gone out for and participated in, because people are interested in what we're doing, and it's a world of sharing resources and knowledge. The second model that we use is our task force model, and if anyone wants to join our task force, we would love to have you. So our task force is a group of service providers, arts organizations, healthcare, and higher education institutions, and what we do together is plan, implement, and evaluate multidisciplinary arts programs. So this is a thing that we convene every month. Right now it's virtual and probably will stay virtual, as we do have service providers across the entire state of Florida right now, but hoping to branch beyond that at some point. And the idea is that we come together, and it's all about bringing equity and arts accessibility to our unique communities. Together we have things, these are our like main pillars. So what we try to do is make programs that are scalable and replicable. So all three of these things that I'm talking about, the partnership model, the collective model, and then how you actually plan and implement programs, are all part of our created scalable and replicable models, as in you can make them as big as you want or little as you want and anywhere you want. We are creating a logic model for research. That's a big proponent of getting any type of funding to continue what you're doing. Research is really important. So what are people saying about your programs, and how can you use that to do number 3, which is funding? Everyone needs funds. We do a ton of grant writing and pitching over and over and over again. But what's as we all know, is once you've started to write one grant, you can replicate and move it into so many different fields. So it's highly important to figure out what your funding needs are for your unique population, and then figuring out what researchers really want to know. What I think is most important, I have found, is not at all what funders think is most important. I think the students and how they experience the process of a program is very important, but what you'll find is people want to know numbers, they want to know statistics, and they want to know percentages. So how can you take all of that qualitative data of students saying great things and turn it into those finite numbers that funders really want to see? So that's one of the missions of our collective. We've really developed a lot of surveys around those different things, so we can take that qualitative information and turn it into quantitative, which is very difficult. Everyone in grant and research is like, why? It's so hard to do. But we have kind of found ways to overcome that, and I'm happy to share that as well. We are all about creating equitable access for the arts, which is, I know, why you're all here. And we are working on creating an arts and wellness movement. Currently, we're working with Jill Sonke of the University of Florida, and we're creating, yay, she's great. But we're working with her about how can we make this arts and wellness movement national and global. She has a lot of global friends out in Europe, so what we are really trying to do is be on the cutting room floor about how can we get more of these arts accessible programs in every city, in whether it's big or small, across the country and potentially someday the world. That would be amazing. All right, so within the collective, we focus on the social determinants of health to provide equitable access for arts for all people. So the social determinants of health, not a lot of folks really know about them, but it's how the government really identifies where the biggest needs are within our community. So whenever I'm in front of a group of people, I like to share about them because you're probably doing work within one of these fields and you're already being identified as one of these fields, but you might not know that that's how you're being classified. So there are 5 main social determinants of health. We have economic stability, education, health and healthcare, neighborhood and built environment, and social and community context. I'll break them down and tell you one of our pair programs that we do. So economic stability, we're talking about poverty, we're talking about unemployment, we're talking about housing insecurity. So one of the programs that we do is we work with LGBTQ+ teens and young adults, many of them who are homeless, and we bring a variety of arts programming. Mainly we have a music therapist who brings mental health interventions, but we also do things like spoken word and creative writing. Just last week for Pride, we did a huge community tie-dye event where we literally brought t-shirts and a dye, and we just had a great time listening to music and connecting with our community in celebration of this unique population. In regards to education, I know we all know what that means. So getting into schools, especially our Title I communities. One of the programs that we developed is called Bach and Babies, and we do this with the Early Learning Coalition of Central Florida. It's a program for little guys, 6 weeks to 24 months old, and it's all about building cognitive, like early gross motor skills, pattern comprehension. It's a blast, it's adorable. And basically what we do is we go into preschools in low-income neighborhoods and bring this program to their tiniest, smallest little populations. Health and healthcare, obviously we know what these two divisions are, but for instance, CFC Arts, we work in tandem with Advent Health. Our music therapist actually came from Advent Health as part of a really robust grant we applied for, and it took like 4 years to get, amen. But she is our main staffer on our team now, and she only does work for us, and she's brought on a team of 6 music therapists that work underneath her to be able to do the work, that specialized work out in the community to make the arts accessible. But for those populations, we're talking about really finite tactile skills that they can grow and build outside of just the general enjoyment of arts activities. Neighborhood and built environment, this one's really important. It's really about where you're going and what that population is experiencing within their community. So some folks that I speak to actually have multiple of these social determinants of health kind of intersecting with whatever population they're working with. But neighborhood and built community, for instance, one of the things that we do is we work with the Central Florida Urban League. We developed an arts and literacy program, so we teach students about writing, but through creating artwork. So it's a sketch and writing class, and at the end they create basically a short story with both pictures and dialogue and descriptions. And the idea, I was talking earlier about how it's important for some of our partners for us to be hitting core curriculum, and we are not just arts for art's sake. Any type of art can be used to teach so many other things. So in this particular program, it was really about hitting those 6th through 8th grade benchmarks in language arts. So these students who may not have, whether their parents don't speak English at home or their parents don't even have the ability to read, this is a really important program for developing those language arts skills within those kind of vulnerable populations. And then social and community context. So this is what are we doing with more of our programs, our community that is lacking in some form of like social cohesion. So folks that are coming out of prison or maybe are in prison. That are dealing with either extreme poverty or racial prejudices. One of our programs for that is a program we do at Polk County Correctional Facility. It's called Renew, and we do go into this women's prison and we bring 2 different types of things, a drama program and an arts and meditation program. So it's all about how can they use these skills to really build their critical thinking, their social and emotional kind of healing and interpersonal communication skills before they are released from incarceration. So this program is specific for this population. It was designed with them in mind, and it typically goes for their last 8 to 16 weeks in incarceration, so that when they leave, they have built some skills to take out in the community. And we like to, at the end of it, also connect them with community partners, so they're not just walking out into a world they haven't been in a long time and feel like they don't belong anymore. So yes, social determinants of health, it's really important. If you take anything away, know that those exist, and they will, that's kind of one of those cutting edge things that I'm talking about today, but I guarantee in 10 years from now, it's going to be very commonplace that everyone will know that in their back pocket. So important to know now, as you probably fall in one of those categories. So the last thing and the most exciting thing I'm going to talk about today is developing programs. I know I have some teachers out here, and program development is really the most exciting, the most creative part of my job, but also the most challenging and has the most facets, parts, and pieces to it for sure. So within CFC Arts in-house, we have about 500 plus pieces of cross-disciplinary lessons, workshops, and class outlines. Some of our workshops are as small as 30 minutes, others are 90 to 2 hours in length, and some of our classes are designed to be either a 2-class model, 4, 6, 8, 10, and we've even done up to 16-week class models as well. So quite a bit, even though 500 doesn't seem like a lot when you look at how many pages that is, it's quite a bit. I'm going to kind of do a couple different examples of really easy activities you can take and implement with your population today. If that is just your child, if it is a group of students in a classroom, these are easy and accessible arts programs that you can easily replicate with just having seen these slides. So the first one I'm going to share with you today is called Blackout Poetry. If you've never seen it before, let me show you how it works. So blackout poetry is when you take any type of base text. This can be a newspaper. This can be, if anyone took one of our pamphlets, we'll work on the pamphlets. And you take a marker and you black out words that just maybe don't serve you. You don't want to use them. And after you've blacked them out with a pen, leaving space, you're going to read back what you have left in the words. So this was the original written text, and here's what it turned into. So we went from, every day I see the sun, but wonder if there might be rain. Whoever thought of the umbrella deserves a crown and kingdom to reign. The new poem you've now created is, I see rain of a kingdom. So it's this idea of creating free form, or sometimes even prose poetry will occur in blackout poetry. And this is a fun activity you can do. We literally have students that we've done this with, huge pieces of works. And then while they're waiting at a doctor's office, or they're sitting, at a gym, any type of downtime where you're just like, man, I'm bored, I'd like to do something creative. Well, instead of being on your phone, what is around you, and can you make something fun and creative out of it? What is fun about this is that it's spontaneous creativity, right? There's no right or wrong. It's just about having fun in the moment. So blackout poetry is a big win, super fun, anyone can do it. Like Frastic Writing. This is my favorite thing to do with students of all ages. And so basically it's writing from an image. Like Frastic means looking at an image and using the visualization to inspire something. Whenever we're leading this activity, we like to use sensory language. So we like to talk about what would we think, feel, smell, hear, taste if we were inside that image today. And when we start talking about our experiences, talking about using our senses, as both a teacher and as a student, you start to get something wonderful, those describing words, those adjectives. And adjectives are really difficult for folks to know. If you say, give me some adjectives, people generally are like, okay, so describing words, what am I thinking? Like, trying to get there is a little bit harder. But when you say, what are you thinking? What are you seeing? What are you hearing? What are you smelling? Now all of a sudden you've really focused all of that creative thought into really finite little areas. So Frastic Writing, we're looking at the image and we're using our senses. What do we see? What do we hear? What do we smell, feel, taste? We create a word bank, and from those word banks, we create free form poetry. So here's an example that we did last year with students with varying abilities. So this was 3rd and 5th grade students. They saw that exact same image, and here are all the wonderful words they came up with. So pink tree, green grass, reflection of a tree, rivers, palms, and you'll see a lot of students say lots of similar things, especially if someone says green tree, everyone's gonna say green tree. Go with it, that's awesome. We'll write it down 4 times in the word bank. So I kind of highlighted the thing that the teacher thought, ooh, these are some interesting words and phrases. And then together the class puts together their short free form poem. So here's what they did with that image. They said, cool breeze, grass rough on my fingers, The river is flowing, the trees are blowing, I hear the rustling leaves. The park makes me feel amazing. So these are 3rd through 5th graders, and they looked at an image and they came up with this amazing poetry. Now, we can do big poems, you can do little poems. Extensions of this lesson would be to try to get them to rhyme or tell a real story, so making a huge description to something. And all of this is, what's really fun is kind of publishable. If you're a teacher and you want to show the innate creativity of your students, you can hang up all different types of pictures and show the poems that students came up with. Now, as a teacher, modification is key to any of these exercises, depending on how creative thinking your class is, or how shy they might be. You might have to scaffold, like I said before. What's fun about this particular exercise is that you can do it as an individual or a group activity. So if you have students that don't wish to participate or having kind of trouble being in a large group, they can, on their own page, write their own words down or say their own words, and you collect individual responses, or you can do it as a group activity. I love using it as a group activity because that group cohesion that you build as students kind of add, and the story kind of grows and the word bank gets bigger. It gets really exciting. And so then you start to build on everyone's individual thought and make it into something really cool. What's neat about this is that teachers can have high involvement or low involvement. What we know is the more you replicate anything, the less involvement you need to have as a teacher. So for low involvement, that means the students are leading and they're doing this exercise on their own. All you're doing is showing the image and you say, have at it, and go for it. And it works. After you've done it a couple times, generally your students will start to get the flow of the lesson and you'll be able to just facilitate the words that are said. For high involvement though, that's a teacher, maybe I have to go back to that image and no one's saying anything. We've all been there. So you start pointing at elements. You say, okay, well, what color is the tree? All right, so now we have pink tree. What color is the foreground, or what's the bottom of the picture? Someone might say stream or grass. So you really start polling the individual thoughts, feelings, and senses. So we start, building the words that will go in your word bank, and from there, you can pull poetry from it. What I love about this particular process is that it does allow for the class to discuss and build that class connection and group cohesion. So that idea that everyone's adding something to it. And once everyone starts talking, it's a lot easier for students that are shy or maybe more on the they're choosing to be more nonverbal, they're choosing not to participate because they're uncomfortable. It gives them an opportunity to really see that there are no wrong answers the more that you validate anything that anyone says. And then for our nonverbal students, when you're really working with a class that is very diverse, and we've done it with them as well, it's very amusing to find what they really connect with, whether that's they're engaging with you through eye contact, or you're reading their body gestures or their verbalizations. What are they really excited about? And you can even say, for instance, if you're going to the word bank, and those words that people keep saying over and over and over again, the pink tree or the reflection of the stream, when you see things that are happening over and over and over again, chances are that student is also going to connect with things that everyone is thinking. So you can kind of gauge what they're thinking or saying by what sound are they making, what is it that they're also adding to the conversation that you can say, oh yeah, I agree with that, absolutely, that is an important word, and throw it into the poem. So really great, especially for building those big group comfortability and group cohesion. Creative writing. Now music, this is where my background mostly is in. I began my career in music education, so I've worked with all ages in the school system, and then over time have really moved from just music into learning all of the creative arts, because generally if you're a creative person, everything's going to spark interest and joy for you. So learning all the disciplines has been a blast in the latter of my career. So these are 2 lessons that I developed that I've used with everybody. I've done them with preschool, I've done them all the way up to students with Alzheimer's and dementia and later life stages. My oldest student I've taught this program, the conducting program to, I think was 98. So to kind of give you a breadth of what we can do with these simple activities, you can scaffold up, scaffold down, and inside our box of curriculum, our digital archive, we have versions of this program for every different type of functionality and comfortability. So we'll start with form, which is a combo of a music and dance lesson. Super simple. So we know music. Anytime, any music that you turn on, any radio song that you're listening to, musicals, any style of music is going to have some form of verse, chorus form. And this form is, and these changes in music is called form. Some songs have a C section or that bridge that we're most comfortable with. What's awesome about any type of lesson in form is that it really gets students to listen to what they're hearing. So it's not just about music for music's sake and let's dance free to music. No, it's, oh, is this a melody, or is this the chorus that we're coming back to time and time again? Let's really listen to what we're hearing and focus our attention on one thing. And what's I really enjoy about this is that I generally begin by teaching form. So every time we hear the verse, I'm going to tell them what we're doing, whether that's patting our legs or clapping our hands. Every time we hear that verse, we're going to do one motion. Every time we hear the refrain, we're going to do another motion. And now we're listening closely, and every time we hear that verse, we're patting our legs. Every time we hear the refrain, we're clapping. And then maybe when we hear the bridge, we're swaying with our arms. What is exciting is the more we replicate this particular program is you can have your students choose those things, right? And how big or small are those motions? Are we going to stay seated? Are we going to use our whole body? All of these choices are available to us, and we're going to listen to the music, and we're going to use those moves that we chose to show the form. So again, tips and tricks for our teachers. I love using this as a large group activity. And when I do, you have lots of options for how you can make it a big activity. I most often do it with parachutes. So instead of doing like a clap or a snap or stomping our feet, we're going to choose how can we move this big sheet in front of us. I've also done it a lot when I have students who are in any type of mobile chair. Parachutes have been really, really fun because everyone's assigned a color and section of that parachute. So when you lift it up, everyone can still go underneath it, and you can hold it high. And there's a lot more accessibility to doing a group activity that way. And also when you're doing something tactile, like everyone holding the same object, for students that have challenges with those, gross or fine motor skills, the teacher can best really move the class still working through doing whatever you chose the motion to be for the form, because you have control of the parachute. So large group activity, I recommend parachute or sheet, but it can be done with a small group or individuals. I like to also use music scarves, if you've ever seen them, for like $12.99 on Amazon. You get a box of about 26 scarves, I think, in various colors. It's just fun for expression and to make anything more tactile. I love tactile learning. I love to touch things, because the more that we're touching things, it means the less time you're spending touching your face and your clothes and whatever else you want to. So when we put our energy into touching something like a scarf or later a conductor's baton, we're really kind of focusing what we're doing with our body and focusing what we're doing with our ears to really get the most out of a lot of these lessons. So again, for like low mobility, if we don't do the group activity style, actions can be made smaller. You can use ribbons or those small scarves, or students can be assigned an aid to help fully participate. I have done the aid version of this program as well. It just depends on what your class is really wanting, but I love teaching independence. So the most you can get, the more you can utilize what students can do on their own, the more fun it's going to be and the more group cohesion you're going to create within your classroom. Conducting. Okay, this one is probably our most popular program that we've done, especially in the virtual realm, because you don't need to be in person to do conducting. And so the process for conducting is you are the conductor, and a conductor is the person that stands in front of an orchestra and waves their arms to make the orchestra make the music. We teach our 3 main conducting patterns, so your 2 pattern, your 3 pattern, and your 4 pattern. And then we pair those actions to music that uses the 2, the 3, and the 4. We have probably about 15 versions of the conducting program in the archive. If this is something that you're interested in, just shoot me an email and I'm happy to share them with you. We do everything from film music to, we have a whole program for like 50s pop songs and 70s rock. Epic film scores like Gone with the Wind. We do a little bit of everything to kind of hit whatever population we're working with. And you break it down into 2, 3, and 4 patterns. That is our base lesson, learning the conducting patterns. But in conducting, there's more to it than just the movement. There's a lot of music listening that goes into conducting, which is a blast to listen for. So things like dynamics, and you don't even need to call it dynamics. You can just say, when is the music loud? When is the music soft? And conductors express that with big patterns and with small patterns. So now you're going to take even those same songs that you did before, and you're going to use your patterns. And anytime you hear the music get loud, you're going to make your pattern big. Or if it's soft, make it small. The tempo, obviously you have to move your conducting pattern in time with the music, so finding that steady beat and moving either fast or moving slow, depending on what's happening that you're hearing. And then articulation. Is the music that you're listening to, is it sharp? Is it like a march, or is it slow and smooth like a ballet? Well, that's going to change how you use your conducting pattern as well. So how can we use our bodies and do the same conducting style that we've already established early on in the lesson, but kind of put these new ideas to it. Big and small, fast and slow, sharp and smooth. All these different varieties just make performing and engaging with the music more fun. Now, I do love to make things tactile, like I said before, so using rhythms, the scarves or sticks, and any type of stick works. Oops, sorry, I'm making lots of noise. Sorry. Any type of stick works. You don't need a specific conductor's baton. You can even use a number 2 pencil, which I generally do most of the time. I say, grab a pencil out of your desk, just to give them something to touch, to really get the idea of conducting. There are extensions to this lesson that we do as well, because if anyone here is a conductor or an instrumentalist, you would know, well, this is really basic. Like, this is just moving your arms to the beat. Yes, we do have other versions of conducting, because I did say I do it with adults, and all the way up to the oldest student was 98. We have versions where we do look at a score and say, well, what does a conductor see? And they get to look at the different markings, and we talk about what those dynamics and tempos and articulations look like within an actual score. We'll also talk about what it is like to cue an orchestra and the elements of the orchestra, and imagine a room full of people playing different instruments. We've even done a version of conducting where it was like a 14-week workshop where we built on the skills of conducting and then arranged the students into a orchestra, so to speak, of different sections of instruments that they would pantomime playing, with a person acting as the conductor to the music that they heard or saw, and conducting the pantomiming of students, which is a blast way to kind of make what is a music and movement lesson into a music, movement, and drama lesson. For low mobility, what we have done in the past is for students who have challenges moving their arms within these patterns, we use really simple soft ribbons that caregivers can gently use to guide an action. Again, I say guide, do not force. If your student is not interested in doing it, that's okay, and we can all enjoy just listening to music today. But if they are interested in doing it and just need a little bit of help using something where you're not physically just holding the wrist, but that you are guiding a motion that they can naturally do with their wrist, is going to be the most and effective way to get everyone participating. So that's music. How am I doing on time? Yeah, pretty good. Okay, almost there. My drama lessons. These are really fun. This is a group that I work with. This is the Upbeat group when we were in person. And we have done tableaus and open scenes. This is another one. Take a screenshot of it, take it to your group. They're a blast and they're easy to do. Tableaus is creating a picture with our bodies. Here are some demonstrations of us doing different forms of pictures and scenes with our bodies on the right-hand side. A tableau is a frozen picture. This activity works by a teacher reading a story and pausing after the scene. It works really, really well if you are doing a very familiar story. So like this one over here was Cinderella. So we already know the story of Cinderella, so we don't have to read the whole book first. And so we're reading a couple pages at a time and stopping and then saying, all right, so that was the opening scene. Cinderella was in the marketplace. I want the whole class to become the marketplace today and create a tableau. And then they will arrange themselves, or you arrange them, assigning them individual characters, and you create a frozen picture. I generally do the 3, 2, 1, freeze, and then whatever that image is, I'll point at students and allow them to tell me what they are within the marketplace if I didn't assign it to them. I love using this for both historical moments in time and for fictional stories. When I'm talking about history, this is a great one for talking about either, like we've done it for Martin Luther King, I've had a dream speech, who are you in the crowd? And then you can even connect it to creative writing, describing the perspective that you embodied that moment in history with. So history is really great with this. Art is really great with this. So if you're thinking about some of the most iconic pictures in art and history, like maybe it's the Mona Lisa, maybe it's the farmer and his wife, having the students replicate the art, because they don't have to think about what's happening with their body. They just have to literally look at an image and replicate the facial expressions or body language. And then say, well, how does it feel to be that person? What did it feel like to be the Mona Lisa? What did it feel like to be the farmer and their wife? Do they feel happy? Do they feel sad? And you can kind of talk and have a really great conversation about what it was like to embody a work of art or a moment or scene. I like this one because it is very accessible, especially for a teacher. You don't have to do a ton of variety. to be prepared for this. So assigning actions or characters to individual students allows for kind of a quick and easy pickup of this lesson. If you do have students that are more able to think creatively, allow them to choose who they are, and then you can go around the room and ask them. I love that this lesson can be done in whole groups or with individuals. So you can either say, read a scene and have them choose, or you assign them and then they act or freeze as that character, or you can do a whole group, which is what I have over here. And the lesson can be done, like I said, replicating a work of art. Open scenes, this one is a little bit higher on the level of comfortability, so this wouldn't be a day one of meeting your class kind of activity, but open scenes are ambiguous scenes, typically with 2 people. They're also known as skeletal scenes. I love this because these give students an opportunity to learn to think creatively in a very defined way. So the teacher's going to read the scene, ask what the scene's about, collect responses, and repeat the scene with new contexts. When we're talking about students with varying abilities, easy things to change are emotions and place. And those are really important developmental tools that we use, especially in acting, that really can help us better communicate in life. This is what an open scene looks like. So if you have a moment to read it, basically they are short phrases, or sometimes even just singular words that you can really change the meaning and context around, and you can repeat the scene time and time again. And that repetition is really, really awesome, especially if your group is not one that can read or is comfortable really reading clearly. You can assign them just a few words or a phrase and then tell them how they need to change it. So are they saying it happy? Are they saying it sad? Are they angry? Where are they when they're saying it? It's very amusing to see what creative thoughts your class might come up with, or what you help them kind of come up with and put together. I do teach the scenes in a repeat after me style, so I don't worry about the students having to read the lines, but over time they'll generally memorize it, or you can have it big and blown up on the screen, so after you've done repeat after me, they still have something that they can be looking at if they forget their line. Lessons can be done in pairs or small groups where you assign multiple people the line or just an individual. And like I said, the same scene can be done over and over and over again, just changing the context. And the most important things to change would be emotion and place. So those are open scenes. Whew, that was a lot of things I wanted to share with you guys today. And we do have lots and lots of lessons, and I'm happy to share whatever you're interested in. Obviously, go forth and replicate, as I've said before. Our goal is to make the arts accessible, and to do that, it takes creativity, it takes passion, and it takes purpose. And I know everyone who's in this room or watching it, the reason you're here is because you want to make the arts accessible for whatever your population is that you're trying to serve, because we know that the arts are fun, and it's a great way to connect with one another. And all of you here today are teachers, whether you know it or not. Whenever I'm hiring teaching artists, because we do have a team of about 80 of them, it's not always about finding the person that is the best at teaching drama or the best at teaching creative writing. I say finding the right person in regards to general knowledge of the skill that they're teaching, but they need to have the patience and the passion to do the work with a variety of populations. So my 4 kind of cornerstones are: they need to know the subject, care about the students, be flexible in the process, and believe that all are capable of creating exceptional art. If you are missing one of those pieces of the puzzle, chances are that's not going to be the best teacher for your group. My biggest one that I will say time and time again is being flexible in the process. It's really important when you are as the teacher or the teacher that you got to work with a group. You can't get too hung up in how you're going to do something. You need to know what your plan is, but as I mentioned a lot today on every slide, we talked about modification and scaffolding. Not being so worried about getting to the product that you had in your mind at the beginning of the lesson, but being open to where the process is taking you and working with the group is going to go. Because the product that you create at the end, when you go with how the group is moving, is going to be better than anything you could have tried to force to create. And that's where finding the right person comes in mind, and not someone who's incredibly gifted at conducting. Because a great conductor is great for conducting an orchestra, but might not be great at teaching conducting to a group with Down syndrome. And whoops, I should also say training and support can help with the rest. If they don't feel comfortable with the given population, chances are if they are the right person, if you give them a little bit of extra scaffolding or development for them as a teacher, whether that is a resource that they read or having them attend a training, or in our case, we generally have folks work with our music therapist to learn about the given functionalities behind any style of disability to really know how to best teach that population. Because we talked at the beginning about how knowing your population is really key to beginning any work. Know where you want to go, and then know the activators or triggers of that given population so that you can best speak to them. And that is going to be highly important for any teacher to know as well. So the last thing I'm going to say is connect with us, school@cfcarts.com. I have stuff in the back of the classroom as well today. Feel free to connect with us. We do bring virtual and in-person classes to any group or school, and we have a lot of funding to do so. Our goal is to be in the 4-county and hopefully someday 7-county area. Right now we're achieving that virtually, but we are looking to build out our teaching artist team into more of our Central Florida counties. We do share our lesson plans, so if you're like, wow, I would really love to learn more about conducting, or we have drumming, we have all kinds of different things. If you are interested in hearing what we're doing, or would like to see what that is, or would like to try it with your group, I do have lesson plans and I'm happy to share them. That's half of the mission. I can't be everywhere and I don't intend to be. But the more that we get these styles of learning out there, the more people can experience and enjoy the arts. So go forth and replicate. We do trainings in-house with our team, specifically our music therapist. Part of her job is literally to train other people to be ready to teach students with varying abilities. And when I say students, I'm not talking about kids, I'm talking about anybody of any age, any group. So if you have someone you're like, oh gosh, I have a great teacher, but she is really uncomfortable with a given population, let me know. Email school@cfcarts and I can let you know when our next training, they're typically virtual, will be with our music therapist, and they can just join our team and get a little bit more knowledge around a given population. And then if you are a group today and you're interested in joining that Arts and Health Collective, you want to be a part of us as we are making pitches for granting, making these research models, and really trying to be part of our goal is to be a national model so that this work is being done nationally and maybe someday with Jill Sankey's help globally. So if you want to be a part of that, please shoot me an email. We love to have people join our Arts and Wellness Collective. Right now it is probably like 70 organizations strong, but that does not mean you have to attend every monthly meeting, because that would be chaos in Zoom and in person. But joining us when you can, we would love to have you. So my last slide is any questions for us today. I have a lot of things that we've said. Yes. Any planning, so you asked you want to incorporate what type of art? Music and dance. So she asked if we have anything that we can incorporate music and dance into her group or population. Yes. Do we have programming for folks who want to? Ah, I see.
She's a performer, and she wants to choreograph and work with her population.
Yeah. So, do you have training for people that want to develop a foundation?
Yeah, so developing opportunities for you to learn as a choreographer and your team as well. To develop a foundation. Yes, awesome. So I would reach out send me an email because our collective would be the best place for the resources for developing something like a foundation. I know several of our students with all different types of abilities and desires. They actually have small businesses of their own as well, and we are absolutely open to supporting that. The collective would be the best place so that you can say what it is that you want to do, what your mission statement is, and I can put you in contact with other people that are doing similar but different work, right? So other people that have their foundations in small businesses. I'm sorry? Grant writing. Oh, that's a big one. We do have a collective. Within the collective, we have several grant writers. We do have a grant writer on our team as well. We generally have a lot of work personally in regards to grant writing, but she would probably be able to get you some help in regards to grant writing for sure. You're located, so she said she's located in Miami. Yeah, so what we do currently is all across the state of Florida, so you would be active part of the collective model for sure. Thank you, Marjorie. We are Central Florida. We're in downtown Orlando, but with virtual, we do have partners all over the state because it's just a matter of signing into a Zoom. Thank you, that was a great question. I love the development of foundations, spreading the work of arts and wellness for sure. Yes? Grant writing, foundations, yes. The collective is the biggest piece of that puzzle, where it's just all different types of organizations coming together to create and really sharing the best tips, practice. And honestly, some of us have shared both teaching artist staff and things like you were talking about grant writers. We have shared that as well. Yeah, she's incredible. Yeah, she's saying she knows Jill Sankey. I have to repeat everything for our viewers at home. So what was your name? Nikki Hutchinson was saying she works with Jill Sankey, who's one of really the leading names in arts and wellness in this area. Actually, nationally, she's now working for the CDC. I don't know if you know that. Yes, so she is really a national name in regards to arts and wellness programming. But so you're interested in grant writing as well, and just getting funding.
Yeah, so the population that I'm serving right now, it's about 60 kids and growing. A lot of our funding comes from actually our community. Our community kind of joined together this semester, and they all gave a certain amount, and that gave about 25 kids the opportunity to take free dance classes, karate, tap, jazz, ballet. I worked along with the University of Florida to kind of bring in some of their dance students, their BFA students, and they came in and they taught dance classes. But we did fall short in some areas with funding. And when you mentioned the word grant writing, and when I hear it, I know that monies are out there, but I'm so intimidated with grant writing and becoming a 501c3. Like, that is just so intimidating. So just someone to kind of help hold my hand for a little bit.
To get you into that. Yeah, we absolutely connect with us. So she was saying just getting started as a 501c3 and grant writing, figure out how to get those external funds that exist and access those buckets of money to really help her given population. Absolutely reach out to us in regards to our collective, because obviously that is a bunch of nonprofits around the table, but our executive director and our director of my boss, he would be a great one for me to connect you with, just in regards to how to get started in creating getting the nonprofit name out there. It's not too terribly difficult to get started. And once you do have that certification, generally speaking, there are more grants that are going to be accessible to you. And then in part with, applying for grant funding, also that research component that I talked about. So surveying your participants is going to be equally important, because writing fantastic narratives, while awesome, students said this, parents said this, what your work is great, but funders want to know these, the hard quantitative, what percentage of students have developed or say they have developed more gross or fine motor skills. So really knowing what kind of questions or keywords are out there for your given discipline discipline and your given population and collecting that in a pre and post survey form. And I'm talking about simple technology. I wrote that in my description, but literally we use Google surveys and it creates wonderful graphs, creates really simple, accessible ways to collect some of that quantitative data that funders are really interested in. So making sure that you have that as well. Yes?
I don't know if there's very many parents, but I wanted to come and let parents know how important this is. Sean is language delayed, and he was the first one with Down syndrome that the community arts worked with, and they have helped him so much on his language development and everything through what he loves, which is music and singing and everything. And how many years ago he went to camp for the first time. They hadn't had anyone, they didn't know about his challenges and what to do. He would be under a table often, but they would tell us, we would work together. He has always finished every class that they have offered that he's been signed up for. So the growth for people is just unbelievable through the arts. And so I want to encourage anyone outside our area who wants to increase it. They will help their population so much. And the smiles on our kids' face, and this was before they had a special
Team, yeah.
They keep growing.
We do, we keep growing, yes.
Him having a special classes and everything, but Sean is still doing with the general population.
Yeah, the inclusion program.
So it started small, but they have known it was needed, and they have grown to meet our special population's needs.
Thank you.
So Kellyanne, you and Josh have just really been appreciated by all of us.
Well, thank you. Oh, I'm so glad to hear that. And yeah, Sean, I think that was that 7 years ago? Like 6 or 7 years ago. Because this has existed.
Summer camp.
Yep, yes, I remember. I think you've seen it in one of our pictures.
He was under the table. Okay.
How do we move forward?
Let us know
This
if
is
he
important.
could get a donut if he was on today. So communication, though, is how we are able, not us giving them a whole lot of things, do this, then letting us know what their challenges are, and us working on strategies together, and then being open to trying to be flexible with how we're saying the challenges can be met. So thank you. Sean was in 2 productions in May. He did Rock On, and then they did Sound of Music.
Yes.
They said they had 3 performances, and so definitely want to encourage the Minnesä's community and want to encourage parents to how they can find something for their kids to enjoy. Thank you.
No, yeah, thank you so much. I appreciate you sharing that. We've loved working with Sean, and yeah, it was Sean and Sam Hagen were our 2 students that we started to really recognize the need. We had students from our community that joined our regular programs, and we said, we could do this better. And it was just, I think that was 7 years ago, and 5 years ago we started to really take the journey into arts and wellness, and now here we are. So this is all the work of 5 years, and we're excited to see where it goes. So thank you so much for your wonderful words and positive feedback. And Sean, thanks for being, unfortunately, our guinea pig at the very beginning, but now hopefully things are better. And unfortunately, I know my time is up for today, but I am available. My mic's going to get turned off, the camera's going to go off, but I am here for questions if you guys still have them. Thank you so much for joining me. Have a nice day. Sure.